in 3 layers. The architecture is more or less similar than the Tanya has explained before with Recast, because all the chatbots and voice conversation software works more or less in the same way. You have to develop a client side, you have to manage the conversational model, and after you have to connect to the back system, your backend, to manage this response or your queries and respond to the user. The main difference, we have 2 layers. The first of all is the Google Assistant has to know what are you talking about, because we are talking, we are not writing, we are talking, and the intelligence, the AI of Google Assistant can translate our speech, our voice, into a text. With this test, we transform the user request in a query, and we can attack to the backend system and response, okay? The first layer is actions on Google. Everything born in this point. You can see, for example, the URL is consoleactionsgoogle.com. If you have a Gmail account, you can connect to this web, and you can start your project. When you create the project, we have to give a project name. In our case, we have give the name SAP Inside Track Demo Project, and we have to choose a default language. After, we will add more languages, and we manage the different conversational models for each language. And we also have to define the main country or region, because when we speak to Google Assistant, we can manage different actions. Depends on the country you are, because we have, for example, if we execute our application from a mobile phone, we can also access to the geolocalization of the user. Okay? We click, for example, in Create Project, and we start to manage our project. First of all, we have to introduce one invocation name. Okay? In this case, Inside Track app. When we want to talk with our application, we open Google. We can interact from, for example, Google Assistant from our mobiles, Google Home, a device developed inside a custom device in a Raspberry Pi, in Slack, in many channels. But we also have to start with hot work, and special work. We have to talk to Inside Track app or open Inside Track app. Then the system open our application, and we can talk to the system and manage different queries. Okay? Depends on the language. For example, we can add more language. If we click in Modify Language, we can add Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, etc. And we can select a different hot word for each language. And we can also select different Google Assistant voice for each language. We can, for example, select a female voice in English language and a male voice in Chinese language. Okay, this is very easy because there are only three fields. When we have our application, okay, we have to create an action. Okay. We can select, for example, build intents. An intent is a special action that we want to execute. We can create, for example, a custom intent or build intents. For example, several games or get horoscope, joke, etc. that are built previously by Google. And it's very easy to integrate several games, for example, with these utilities. If, as in this case, we select a custom intent, actions on Google will open directly the another layer. This is the second part of the screen, is dialog flow. Okay? In dialog flow, we will create our conversational model. Okay? For example, when the user say hello, I have to respond, hello, how are you? Or when the user tell about what's the weather like, you have to manage the right answer, okay, for each intent. We have to also select the language for this conversational model, in this case English, the default time zone, and for example, the Google project. This is the previous Google project that we have created. If you create, for example, Dialogflow without your project in Actions on Google, you can select your Google project after. This is an example of an intent. I would like to explain how it works, but Tanya has explained before very well how it works, this kind of software. An intent is an action that the user wants to do. Okay? If you imagine, for example, one web application, an intent it would like, for example, search orders, or filter a customer, or accept a travel request. Okay? This is an intent. And when we create an intent, we can trigger this intent in two different ways. After an event, an automatic process is in the front end. In this case, for example, this is the simple or the standard intent, the welcome intent. For example, when the application is open, in this case, when you open Google Assistant, okay, the system responds with hello from SAP inside track 2018. This is a hard-code response, okay, because the response could be hard-coded or managed by the backend system. Or also, you can trigger the intent with different training phrases. In this case, we have hello, hi, greetings, hey, hello. It's not mandatory to introduce all the training phrases that you have in your head for one intent, because the AI that is behind this kind of software is smart to map a different phrase to the right intent. For example, if I say hi, the system will recognize that I want to trigger the intent hello, or the welcome intent. After we will see, for example, if the system cannot manage these training phrases, okay, you will have in the back office system a list with the different training phrases that the user speaks to map later, okay? And this is what we mean as training the chatbot or training the conversational software. The last part is the Firebase. The Firebase is a Node.js that is located on Firebase. It's a cloud backend that has Google. We also call an endpoint. For example, we can call directly to our SAPssistant to manage the different responses. If we do this, for example, we will have to parse the JSON inside the SAPssistant, but it's easier do it with JavaScript, because it's a web language and it's easier to do these kinds of operations. And that's all. We are going to see the application. Okay, for example, this is Actions on Google. I will do bigger the screen. Here I have, for example, several projects. We'll talk about the Inside Track application. I click on My application. And here we have, for example, all the different options that I have when I am creating the application. Okay? We have, for example, English. As we talk about, I can add more languages. I can manage, for example, the invocation name, the Inside Track application, etc. And this is the point where you create the several actions you have. Okay? You can add directly an action, and you can integrate automatically with Dialogflow. And we have also a customization theme. For example, in this case, it's empty. Here, for example, when we use or where we work with the application directly on our Google Assistant, well on our phone, we can manage, for example, the theme or the look and feel of the different responses. We can create tags, for example, our company logo, colors, etc., etc. Okay? And also we have here, for example, the simulator. If we want to try or if we want to test our application directly on the project instead of using Google Home or another device. Okay? Example, here we have Dialogflow. In Dialogflow, we have the different projects that we have created before. This is the SAP Inside Track demo project. And here we have the different intents. Okay? In our case, we have the two. This is our default fallback intent. This is an error. For example, you can manage the response of the errors. First of all, this is response, but you can see it. This is the default welcome intent. That's what we talked about before. For example, this intent we will trigger when the system is connected, only one time. Or if we want to execute or work with this intent several times, we only have to say hello, hi, hello, hi, hello, hi, hello, hi, and we always receive the same response. Okay. We can define actions and parameters. This we will see in another intent. And here we have, or we can manage the different response. Now I have only one. This is hello from Barcelona SAP Inside Track 2018. But you can add more and more responses. And the system, each time you execute the intent, the system selects one by default. Okay? This, for example, now I'm going to respond with the number 2, and the number 3, and the number 4. This is important because it's more human response, because if you have a system that always is talking about the same responses, it's very, very lazy, okay, or very bogus. Here we have entities. Can you see the entity is hidden? This is an entity, it's called system bar. It's similar a domain in SAP, okay? It's a domain. And you can create here the different values. In this case, we have date and user. We will see how it works, because if you have, for example, here an intent, this intent is called system. Okay. Here we have the training phrase. This is tell me the system. System is a parameter. You can say whatever you want, but it has to be in the previous list. Okay, you can say, tell me the date, or tell me the user, or tell me the time. Okay, and the conversational model receives the data inside this parameter, and inside the JSON you will see system parameter equal date or equal time, and you can manage after in your query. Okay. With the intents, you have to model all the conversation. You have to define, well, what you want. For example, I want a conversation. If you want to buy shoes in a web channel, for example, the first of all, you say hello, and the system, hello. This is one intent, the welcome intent. The second intent can be, for example, I want to buy a shoes, and the system can respond, what kind of shoes? Men's shoes, what size? Large or the number 40, etc. We need a query with several parameters to convert this query in a system query against our backend system. Okay? For example, if I create in this system, I can manage, for example, here I have an option. Is this now this parameter is optional, but if I check here, I convert the parameter in mandatory. When I check the parameter in mandatory, I have to manage the different questions that the system will do automatically for filling the value. Okay, for example, here I can have You don't have a system variable. Please tell me what you want. And you don't have to do anything more. The system always will do questions to fill the different parameters that you need to go to the backend. Okay? This is the easy way. This is the easy way to manage response. Hard-code is response that you define in your conversational model. But if you want, for example, manage queries against a system, for example, in our case to SAP, you have to check this option, this enable webhook call for this intent, and you have to go. And so you want to, okay. Okay, here the fulfillment. You have to go to this section where we can manage the different response. When the user triggers an intent, we receive a JSON, and we have to parse this JSON with the different parameters that the user wants to tell us, and manage a query to trigger to our backend system. I want to explain, for example, in here. Okay? For example, we have an intent is tell me the date. With this intent, what we want is the trigger an event against SAP to get the system variable, the C datum. Okay? And for example, what we do here is, okay, this is not, here. We have, for example, this is a variable, system var, and we do a stringify to get the query result parameters that we have stored in the system var number 1. That's the variable that we have previously create here. This is system var, and we get the value. Okay. In system var, for example, yeah, we have a value that means date, time, username, etc. Okay? And we build an URL where we have our endpoint, for example, our URL with our host, the port, the root, etc. And this is an SCEF service that we have located in our SAP. We have created before, for example, one service that we have here. Okay. Here we have. This is our service. We call our service passing the parameters, and after in the main class that receives the parameters of this class, we manage the different parameters of our query. After this one, we manage response with a function model. This is an easier function model that in our case we have only 2 parameters, the name of the intent and the name of the system variable. The only thing we have done is, for example, convert the parameters of our voice to a different parameters to a function model. We manage what we have to manage in our ABAP code, for example, get the date, and we introduce the value inside the export parameter eData. It's an export parameter, the type string. Okay. And when the service responds from the backend system, the only thing we have to do is manage in the agent object of the Google Translate our response. This is the architecture of for building a simple Google application or Google Assistant application to for example, to know about our system variables. Okay, if you want to see in action. Okay. Okay, Google. Talk to Inside Track app.
Lo siento, no sé cómo ayudarte.
Okay, Google. Inside Track app.
Sure, here's the test version of Inside Track app.
Hello from Barcelona SAP Inside Track 2018.
Hello.
Hello from Barcelona SAP Inside Track 2018.
This is the difference between an event, the first, and the training phrase, the second one, okay? Connect to SAP.
Hello from SAP.
Tell me the date.
The system date is October 26, 2018.
Tell me the user.
I missed what you said. What was that?
Tell me the user.
I missed that. Say that again.
Don't understand me, but this is always. But for example, if we want to check in our simulator, this is the same. For example, I open with Talk to Inside Track app. This is my hot work. The application is open, and I can manage the different questions. This is the same. I get, for example, connect to SAP. Okay, I get the same response, but in this case, we have done a different thing that is, for example, main and special response from the backend system with an image, okay? And also with a button. If I click this button, for example, I can manage or I can open another page, in this case, the wiki of this event, okay? Combine these different tools, we can manage only one time Google project, and we can integrate it with different channels. We have tests, for example, in a cell, or maybe in Google Assistant, or maybe in our custom device, or Slack, Facebook, etc., etc. Okay? That's all.